Hey there, and welcome to Adding a Bit of Atmosphere. Okay, so what I've got right now is I've started off with a photograph where I've got Jeremiel is got his hands over top of this light. I also have a halo light coming in, hitting his head and his shoulders. I'm going to toss it to Photoshop now from Lightroom by going Command E. That sends it to Photoshop, or you can go photo, edit in Photoshop, and then it opens up Photoshop, and we have it will automatically add itself to the catalog in Lightroom, which is a really nice feature when you're tossing images back and forth between Lightroom and Photoshop. And now here we have it in Photoshop. Okay, so the first thing I want to do actually is I want to add some darkness on either side, because what my plan is, I'm going to add in some smoke around him, and I'm going to add in some light rays coming out, and maybe a glowing blue ball down here, okay? So, but we're going to need some space around him. So I'm going to do that by hitting the letter C. That gives me the cropping tool. I'm going to make sure that content aware is turned on, and I'm going to pull all this down. I'm going to go down here like this, and I'm going to make this probably wider than I really need, quite honestly. I think that's pretty good. All right. And then, because content aware is turned on, when I hit the checkbox, or the check mark, it's going to add in. You could use AI in order to figure out what it should add. Now, the sides are going to be black. That's going to be easy. But it may add something a little funky down here as it extends the bottom of the light. And when I've done this before, yeah, it's just sort of added in a little bit of fog and such. I'm actually okay with that because I think that's going to add to what we want to do anyway. We want to do sort of a mysterious kind. Right, so the next thing we're going to do is add some smoke around Jeremiel. And so I want you to go to my website, which is bchscomtech.ca. I want you to click. Now, this is only if you're one of my students. Then you won't have access to this, but my students can click on digital design and atmosphere for Photoshop, and they'll have access to this. If you're not one of my students and you don't have access to this, then you're going to need to do a Google image search. So we're going to go to Smoke Fog and open up overlays and go down to Smoke Fog 25, and you're going to download it. When you download it, unless you've got your settings done otherwise, it's going to go into your downloads folder. I've got Chrome set up to actually ask me where stuff goes to. In order to make things easy for this video, I'll also put it in my downloads folder. Okay, so there's Smoke Fog 25. Awesome. Now we're going to go back to Photoshop, and I'm going to go File, and before I do anything, actually, I'm going to pick Save, because you don't want things to crash, right? Or if it does crash on you, at least you've got everything saved. And through the magic of editing, we'll speed this up. Hey, look, it's done. Okay, so now that it's saved, we are going to go to File and say Place Embedded. And go to your Downloads folder and pick Smoke Fog 25 and Place. And it will put this in here. Now, it's putting it right over top of Jeremiel. We can't see him at all. That's okay, because we are going to change this setting right here. Okay, see normal? Okay, so these are, I always forget the name of them. So what I'll do is I'll just hover over top, let go and hover over top. It's a blending mode. Okay, it's the blending mode, and I'm going to pick screen. And when you pick screen, it screens out the black. So now we should see Jeremiel. Now, all right, so we're going to adjust this. Now, if you've got this this layer selected, go Command T. That gets you into transform mode. And you can change the size of this right here. Good. We're going to spread this out a bit more and make this a little bit more. There we go. Awesome. Okay, good. Now, I'm going to hit return, which is the same thing as the check mark. And now he's really kind of covered in smoke there. That's too much. And what I can do is I can grab the opacity over here. Whoops. And right here, I can click on it and I can change this back and forth. I'll let you see. But what I really want to do is I want to be able to have a little bit of smoke in front and a little bit of smoke in behind rather than just all smoke in front. So I'm going to copy Jeremiel. Now watch, I'm going to click on background. And this is a good idea to copy your main picture anyway. So I'm going to go Command J. All right. And he is my model. So I'm going to call this layer model. All right. And I'm going to drag the model layer up on top of the smoke layer. Then I'm going to go to select and pick subject. And the AI is going to automatically pick Jeremiel. Awesome. So now I'm going to go down here to this add layer mask. And I'm going to click on it. And you see, it has created a mask around him. Okay. So what now, if there were parts that you didn't like, you can go to the brush tool, and when you're in the mask, you have to be clicked on the mask. When you're in the mask, wherever you paint black, you're not going to see it. And wherever you paint white, you're going to be able to see through. Right? Now, I'll turn off the background just as a demo here. So wherever I paint black, see, I'm taking them out. And wherever I paint white, I'm going to hit X. See how it switched this right here? Hit X, it goes back and forth. Wherever I paint white, it brings it back. Extremely handy. Love it. Okay. Now, I'm going to go back to my history, and I'm actually going to undo what I've done. Make life easier so I don't have to outline him. Awesome. I'm going to turn on the background again. Now, what I can do is I can actually click on the layer of the picture right here, and I can go back and forth with my opacity and decide how much of him I want in front of the smoke and how much I want behind. And you can just go back and forth and figure what you want. Personally, I'm gonna add a little bit in front of him. Awesome. So I'm about 50%. Great. All right, next we're going to add a glowing sphere around his hands. So I want you to go to my website, and you will find in the website under atmospheres, you'll find glowing spheres. And I want you to download glowing blue sphere to your downloads folder. Okay, and then once it's in the downloads folder, go to Photoshop and File and Place Embedded and pick glowing blue sphere. And there it is. Awesome. Hey, it's a tiny little fella. Okay, so now in order to move stuff around in Photoshop, you have to be in the Move tool. That is this fellow up here. You'll notice that the shortcut is the letter V. V. Now, I'm going to move this right into the middle. And I have these boxes around the outside that they are transform controls. And if you don't have them, pick Show Transform Controls. Turn that on. All right, now, here I am on there, and when I move this fellow, now you will notice for me, actually, I don't have things locked in. That's probably, you probably do. It's a default, so I'll just turn that back on. So then it keeps its ratio. If you want to warp it, you can turn that off. Okay, now I need to be able to see a little bit better and see where his hands are. So I'm going to put screen on again here in the blending mode. Click on, make sure that you are in this layer. Click on normal and screen. Screens out the black. Oh, cool. Look at that. Awesome. All right. Neat. There it is. I'm going to try to get the same ratio right there. So as the or the radius as the light. So that way it's starting to work together. Awesome. I like that very much. Super. Now, you will notice, I'm going to first of all click return or the check mark, either one, and then I'm going to turn off the transform controls and you'll see, oh geez, look at that. I've got the edges of this box here. Totally easy to fix. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a layer mask. Again, add layer mask down the bottom right. And then I'm going to hit B for brush. I've got my brush tool. Okay, and I'm going to paint black. So at the moment, I've got white on the foreground. I'm going to hit X and it changes it to black. And I'm going to just go around the outside here a little bit. Now, my brush tool is set. Actually, I should point this out. This is really important because it's not going to work for you otherwise. My brush is at about 600 pixels and my hardness is way down at 0. Okay, that means that the brush is really soft. So that means that it is nicely taking out the edge, not adding a hard edge to it. If my hardness was way up at 100, then it would have a hard edge to this. And that's not what I want. So I'm going to undo that, Command Z. Okay, so I'm going to put my hardness back on down. Now, if you want to change the size of your brush, you can use either this setting right here where you change the size, but I actually prefer the square bracket, which is next to the letter P. So you can hit the left square bracket, makes it smaller, right square bracket makes it bigger. Okay, so, and now I'm going to paint with a soft brush all around the outside, just to reduce the hardness right there. Easily done. If you go too much, hit the letter X and paint some of the stuff back in. You can just go back and forth until you get it right. Awesome. Okay. Well, I think that's starting to look pretty good, although I'm going to reduce down the opacity of that glowing sphere a bit, I think. Right, so bring her on down to about 57 is where I like it. You decide. Right, next we're going to add in some more light coming from the glowing sphere. So go back to Google Chrome and go into atmospheres where we're getting all of our stuff. Go into light rays right here, and find light ray 5 and download it. So once it's in your downloads folder, then you can go into Photoshop, File, and Place Embedded. And there's Light Ray 5 and Place. Awesome. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to rotate it. So make sure that you are in the Move tool. You have the layer selected. And your transform controls are turned on. So I'm going to go over to this corner right here and move a little bit off on a 45 degrees. See how this is turned to the rotation tool? And I'm going to click and pull this around so that it is about like this here. 127 degrees is what this says, minus 127. Doesn't have to be exact. We want to see where we're at. So again, we're going to change the blending mode to screen. So we're going to drag this around. And all I really want is this part right here. So we are going to Drag this a little bit, make it a little bit bigger here. And rotate it around a little bit more. Awesome. So there it is. Super. So I'm placing it underneath his hands. Great. I'm going to say, I'm going to hit the check mark. And it's time to mask. So we make a layer mask down here, right corner, and we hit B for brush, and we hit X to X out. If you need to hit X in order to get the black, make sure you have a soft brush right now. And I'm going to paint around here. First, I'm going to get rid of these hard edges way over here on the edge, right here, like that. Okay. And then I'm going to move around and make a bit of a loop around here. Now, one of the things you can do with the brush too is you can actually change the opacity of the brush if you want, but I actually kind of like to just change the opacity up here once I'm done of the whole layer. And so now I've got this kind of down in a little bit of a parabola shape, or the U shape right here like that. I'm going to click on the actual picture, not on the mask. I'm going to click on the picture, go to opacity, and I'm just going to go back and forth so you can see where we're at here. And I can pick the sweet spot of where I want it to be. I'm going to be around 58 is kind of where I like it. Awesome. All right, so if you turn the layer on and off for the light ray, you will notice that it makes a big difference, doesn't it? See that? And it really looks like it's hitting him. The light is what's hitting him in the face right there. I like that. Okay, so, but you'll notice that we've got Nuclei Light Ray 05. And I don't like that name. I'm going to double click right on the text and I'm going to say light from sphere. Okay, always name your layers. If you name your children, name your layers. Okay, so light from sphere. Awesome. Now I know what layer I'm on when I'm working on this. Now it's time for a light ray. All right, so you can get light rays, a whole bunch of different light rays from the atmosphere section, but I want you to get a specific one. I want you to go to God Rays and download God Ray 2. Once you've downloaded it, I want you to place it in Photoshop. Here. Okay, so once it's in, now I want you to, the whole idea is that each one of these rays is going to come out of the holes between his fingers. So we're going to rotate this guy around. And we're going to do the one that comes out of this far hole right here. Okay? And so now let's screen out the black. So we go to screen right here. Good. And now what I do want is I'm going to warp this. We're going to transform this guy. So I am going to overlap his fingers just a little bit. And then I want you to go Command T. That's going to put you into transform mode. And now, whoops, see this link right here? That's got to be turned off. Turned off. That way I can warp this. Awesome. So I'm making it small and narrow. Good. Pull it back. Maybe even a little bit more narrow. So that way it's there. And I can use the arrows on my keyboard in order to nudge it into place. Now I want to overlap his fingers just a bit. I'm going to use a mask in order to do that. All right, so the light ray needs to be a lot longer. So I'm going to grab the end and pull it off the end right here like that. Awesome. Okay, now maybe I might want to have that a bit more of an angle. So I'm going to do that and pull it in there and use my arrows again to nudge it into place. Awesome. Okay, gonna hit the check mark, and I'm going to add in a mask. So click on layer mask. I'm going to zoom in, hit the Z to give me the zoom tool. I'm going to zoom on in, hit B for brush. Now I need to change the size of my brush. It's huge. I'm going to hit the left bracket, and I'm going to paint in right here. There we go. So that way, kind of looks like, whoop, too much. Hit X, take out a little bit right there, like that. Awesome. Love it. So, Command 0 lets you see the whole thing. Awesome. Now, I do think that I might want to go back in with my black brush and clean up a little bit of the edge of this light ray. There it is, here, like that. Clean that up a little bit so I can't see the edges as much. Super. Okay. And I am going to reduce the opacity slightly. So I click here, bring it on down. Awesome. I'm about 66 there. Good. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to copy this whole thing right here. But I'm going to actually give it a name first. I'm going to say light ray and on right side dash 1. Okay. Then I'm going to copy it. Command J. Right, wow, look out. See it doubled up? That's great. Okay, but I don't want that because I'm going to move it. So I hit V for the move tool. I'm going over here and I'm going to rotate this guy. See this fella right here? And I can use nudging with my arrows. Awesome. There it is. I'm going to go Command 0 to pull back a bit. Great. And I'm going to change the name of this layer to side 2. And I want you to do that now for each one of the finger holes. I'll meet you when you're done. All right, so here we are. We've got light rays coming out, 3 spots on either side. So that's fine. So I know that there's more holes in there, but we're just gonna use 3 at the moment. That's fine. I don't think that we need any more. It's gonna be overkill. But in actual fact, it is a little bit on the bright side, isn't it? So let me show you a little trick. I'm going to click on the layer right here, the top one of the light rays, and I'm gonna hold down the Shift key, and I'm gonna click on the bottom one of the light rays. See how they're all selected together? Then I'm gonna put them all into one folder by clicking on this little folder icon on the bottom. Create a new group, and I'm going to call them light rays because I'm not that creative. Okay. Maybe I'll say finger light rays. How about that? All right. Now, this is so cool because now I can change the opacity of the entire group. And so I can bring them down and up depending on what you prefer. Okay? So you can pick that. Last thing that we're going to do actually is we're going to add in a wide light ray in order to cover both of these guys. Just because it'll make things easier, you're gonna go back to File and say Place Embedded, and again pick the God Ray 5. Put that in there. Awesome. Okay, so now we're going to spin this around. We're going to screen it. And we're going to change this to wide ray left. Great. Okay. Back to the move tool. And I'm going to pull this up here to the top. Make this guy wide. Pull it down to the bottom. And we're going to need to put it on a bit of an angle here. And the idea basically is that you just want this to be along the edge be the width of the 3 light rays, right? Now, you're going to have a little trouble in order to get that to work. So, our friend masking is going to come on in here. So, we are going to hit return or hit the check mark. And we're going to throw in a mask. Hit the letter B. Make sure that you are in black right here. And we're just going to take out the edge that is not part. Now, remember, I went a little bit in there, so I hit X. I paint it back a little bit. Okay. And so I'm going to say before and after. Okay. It's a little bit on the bright side, so I'm going to grab the opacity. Actually, here's a trick with opacity. If you hover over the word opacity, see the way the cursor changes? If you click and drag, it will allow you to drag it up and down. So I'm going to find the sweet spot. You have to wait for it to update a little bit. And I think that's around 50%. In order to see if it works, I'm going to turn it off and on. Cool. All right. I like that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the picture and go Command J. And I'm going to change the name to right. Wide ray right. Hard to say. Next, I'm going to go back to the move tool and I'm going to go Command T. Now, I want this to be coming out of the right side. So I'm actually going to go up to the W part right here. I'm going to put a minus sign in there. See how it has switched over, and now I can grab this. Doesn't match exactly, but I can turn that in here and hit the check mark. And again, I'm going to use my brush. Now, I'm going to put the opacity of this guy up to 100 so I can see it a little bit better. Click on my mask, go for the brush tool, and whoops, I got to paint black in there. Paint black. Awesome. Okay. With and without. Again, that's a little bright, so bring her on down about 50. And that just about does it. A couple of things. If it's getting too big for you, one of the problems you might have, like if the file size is getting too big and Photoshop is telling you that, you might need to change your image to a from 16-bit to 8-bit. So you do that. That's going to make this a much smaller file rather than, and there's no real reason at the moment for us to stay at 16. So that's fine too. So now when you go Command S in order to save, you may get this save to Creative Cloud. Don't do that. Go onto your computer, save it into the same folder where you started off with. In my opinion, I do that. Or maybe you want to put it into a different project folder, Atmosphere or something like that. My folder is called School at the moment, so I'm going to save that in there. I'll save over top of what I've got. Yes, I know it will increase the layers increase the size. And you notice down here, it's doing the saving. Now, When that is finished, then you will notice that the update in Lightroom, right, that it adds this guy and it automatically goes into Lightroom. Well, there it is. I hope that you have enjoyed this, where we've gone from this picture right here to this.